What's up, guys? Today I'm going over two power weapons I've been kind of sleeping on recently, and both of them are really good right now. So in this video, we're going to go over the Leviathan's Breath, which I've been famously known to be a hater of this weapon, but I think it's time to change because this thing is extremely good. And I'll also be going over the Thunderlord in this video, another weapon that is surprisingly extremely good. And we'll be comparing both of these to some of the other top options in the game and seeing how good they are and where they stack up. So first, with the Leviathan's Breath, fire a massive heavy bolt that stuns unshielded combatants, strong against unstoppable champions. Along with the secondary perk, when fully drawn, the bolt creates a large concussive blast that knocks combatants back. So this bow is pretty interesting. Another thing to note is for the rate of fire, the catalyst is going to be a huge increase with Archer's tempo, along with giving it more ammo. So looking at this weapon, going straight into the ball, looking at the damage, even though this is going to be a bow and a precision weapon, a big chunk of its damage is actually going to be the concussive blast. So it's going to be kind of like a hybrid precision slash explosive weapon. And one thing that is interesting about this bow is, unless I am blind and I just simply can't read, it has built-in volatile, apparently. As you see, it does like that 9,000 number on Carl after the concussive blast, and if you pick up an orb and actually get volatile rounds, nothing changes. It's the same numbers. So I'm guessing this bow with the concussive blast is just built-in volatile, and I'm not sure if I missed that somewhere, but that's definitely a thing. So we add up all the numbers on the ball. It's looking for a total of 132,000 per arrow, which is quite a lot. That's basically the same as shooting a honed edge times 4 is 90's burden. And looking at the rate of fire, this weapon, unlike almost every other weapon in the game, will actually go up in DPS the more you shoot. So if we look at the DPS numbers of 2 and 4, 2 it's only 77, over 4 it goes up to 81.7, and it'll actually steadily increase slightly over time because the first shot is the one that takes the longest. And this weapon also holds 15 total arrows, and that is not dependent on how many reserves you have. With 0 it's 15, with 3 it's 15, which is kind of unfortunate. I wish you could get more, but still 15 is quite a lot, and it does free up, you know, your armor slots on your chest armor, so that's a good plus, I guess. But doing a total of almost 2 million damage, which once again is extremely good. So right off the bat, just looking at the numbers on this weapon, they seem pretty good and on par with a lot of the other top picks outside of maybe rockets. And this weapon also just absolutely destroys champions. When you're playing a legend activity where you're roughly like 10 under, depending on your light level, you're gonna be able to 2-hit every champion in the game. Then if you go and jump into a hero Nightfall where you're above light, you can basically one-hit champions. It is really, really strong. So not only is this weapon really good for boss fights, it seems, it's also extremely good for general play versus mini bosses, champions, wherever they are, and a really good pick for solo lost sectors. Because as you see on Carl, I mean, this thing 2-hits him. And Carl has a decent amount of health, you know. It takes like 3 to 4 Izanagi's, and yeah. But one thing I did note when I shot Carl earlier is his health bar definitely moved a different amount every single time I shot him. So I'm not sure if there's something fishy going on there, making it do more damage randomly. I'm not sure, maybe a follow-up video on that. But what I want to do for this video is show it off on an actual boss fight where, you know, you have like a 15-second window or however long it is to show off how it actually compares in the real world. Because these numbers on the bow are pretty similar to the Cataclysmic with bait and switch. But the big difference between the two weapons is the Leviathan's Breath, you never really have to do a traditional reload, right? The rate of fire stays the same the entire way, and the DPS never really drops off. So we look at the damage I did in that window on the Spire boss, it was 2.1 million. And comparing that to the Cataclysmic, in previous videos we showed off the DPS was 80,000, almost 81, with almost 2.8 million total damage output. So the DPS numbers are pretty similar to that of the Breath, right? But the main difference is that is over 1 mag with the Cataclysmic, which might be enough for some boss fights, but for boss fights where you need 2 mags where you have to reload, reproc, bait and switch, that's gonna be a lot of extra downtime compared to just shooting the bow over and over again with the Leviathan's Breath. So looking at that, same boss, same div, same everything, the damage I did in that phase was 1.9 million. So the bow is definitely better than the Cataclysmic. But comparing that to rockets, so the Guttural Hothead with a G-Horn, the numbers that we showed off in previous videos, 131,000 DPS, but only 1.5 million total damage output. And looking at the damage on the dungeon boss, same amount of time, and see how much it is. And for this clip, I'm not going to be using any grenades or anything like that, just the hothead plus the witherward to show off the rocket numbers without being on warlock. This would work with any character. And as you can already see, the health bar is a lot lower. And in that phase, I did over 2.5 million, which is a decent chunk better than either the breath or the cataclysmic. And also, just to show off how much better rockets are on warlock when you're throwing your grenades. And you might be thinking using witherward plus grenades isn't a fair comparison to the other exotic power weapons, but that is kind of why rockets are so good, is because they're both legendary, which means you can pair it with a witherward or Iznag's Burden. And with the way they work, you have time between shots to throw grenades. That is like the whole reason rockets are so good. So not including that really isn't an accurate real test. And as you'll see, after this phase is over, I did like 2.6. I have done 2.7, I think 2.8 like once on this boss. I've done it a lot of times with this setup, but overall it's definitely higher than that of the Leviathan's Breath. But there's a lot more moving parts. You know, you could be missing your grenades, your rockets, whatever it is, and you're relying on a teammate with G-Horn compared to the Leviathan's Breath, you know, just simply shooting them. And finally, I wanted to throw in Thunderlord in this video. I've not talked about it yet this season. I've heard it's a pretty good pick for Nezarec. So looking at that, I was actually very surprised by this. I thought it would be good, but not this good. So with the Catalyst, you never have to reload the weapon, and roughly every 10 bullets, it will do the Lightning Strike. And in the same phase, the Thunderlord hit for a total of 2.3 million. So better than the Cataclysmic, better than the Leviathan's Breath. Not quite that of rockets, but all we did was sit there with a machine gun holding down mouse 1. So looking at the DPS on the Thunderlord, jumping into the ball, the damage it's going to do per bullet is going to be 5,515. Then every single 10 bullets will spawn in the Lightning Strike, and as you hold down the trigger, it will shoot faster and faster. So looking at the rate of fire, I'm going to do two different numbers. The first one is going to be from the start, where it's some ramp up over time, and just do one mag. That one mag took 6.2 seconds, but now once you're fully at max rate of fire, doing the same 62 bullets is going to be quite a bit faster at just over 5 seconds. So the DPS of Thunderlord is 64,000 over one mag, but once you get to max rate of fire, it's almost 80,000. So pretty much hand in hand with that of the Leviathan's Breath. But as we saw in the same damage phase, we did roughly 200k more damage. So why is that? Well, Thunderlord is going to be mostly all crit damage, while the Leviathan's Breath is going to be like closer to half and half crit and explosion damage. So it just depends really on the boss. If it's a good crit boss, Thunderlord will be better. If it's not a crit boss, then maybe the Leviathan's Breath would be better. It's also worth noting in the breath clip versus the dungeon boss, I think the last one hit barely as he went immune, so I lost a lot of the damage of the concussive blast, where if that hit, it probably would have been pretty similar to that of the Thunderlord, which I guess is a big plus to Thunderlord. It's so easy, and you can't have that situation where you like barely don't get shot off, or you miss a shot. Thunderlord is going to be super easy and super consistent. And the Thunderlord also does a total damage output of 2.4 million, so once again, that is extremely strong. And just like the Leviathan's Breath, the Thunderlord has a built-in champion rounds, this one being Overload. So once again, this is going to be a really good pick for solo lost sectors, or even Nightfalls, anything with champions in them, both doing good DPS and having a really good total damage output number. So overall, the God Roll Hothead plus the G-Horn is still the best DPS in the game, but Thunderlord and Leviathan's Breath really aren't that far behind, and they're much easier to use, and they both help you versus champions, and the Thunderlord is also going to be really good for Aclear. So overall, both are extremely good picks right now, and I cannot blame anyone for using either of them at all, and I've definitely been sleeping on both this season, and I definitely won't be making that mistake anymore. And for my go-to Strand loadout, where I have a free exotic slot in my heavy, more often than not, I'll be using one of these two weapons the remainder of the season, because they are just that good. Anyways, let me know what you think about these two weapons down below. Like usual, thanks for watching. Catch you guys next time.